Hold on. Jimmy Butler was traded to the Golden State Warriors.
The Warriors are legitimately calling about every all-star player.
They've tried LeBron, they've tried Paul George, they tried Lowry Market, and now they're trying Jimmy.
Okay. It was kind of obvious that Jimmy Butler was going to the Warriors. It was kind of obvious that Jimmy Butler was going to the Warriors because when I heard that the Warriors were going and looking for every all-star and every player to come to their team, I knew eventually they're probably going to get Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler was looking for open to any team that was open for him to get picked up because he was not happy with the Heat and he said he was not playing with the Heat anymore. So therefore, I knew that they were okay. I did not know the KD one. I did didn't see the KD one. The KD. I did hear about trade rumors with them and shit, but I did not think KD was going to go to the Warriors for real. I knew Jimmy Butler was going to go to the Warriors, but not KD. And why my hand seems so close to my camera? Okay, never mind. But I did not think KD was going to get picked up as well.
Butler. Now they're trying Kevin Durant. You made this. I think Miami was willing to do that deal. And they were willing to do that deal for Jimmy Butler.
I would suggest checking your social media outlets.
Wait, if KD goes back to the Warriors, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be holy shit. If KD goes back to the Warriors, Steph might get 5. He might get 6. Oh my. I'm cooked. We're cooked. He might get 6, bro.
And see what's being reported. It sounds like some very exciting stuff.
This year's trade deadline has been...
Oh, who's that?
What's being reported. It sounds like some very exciting stuff.
This year's trade deadline has been absolutely insane. Nobody could wrap their head around the Luka Doncic Anthony Davis trade.
Nobody.
General managers
Not at all.
Angry at Nico Harrison for not giving them the opportunity to bid on Luka Doncic. And now it's gotten everyone acting crazy. Because if a future face of the NBA is available, then who else could be available? Well, if there's one person that was available this entire time, it was without a doubt Jimmy Butler. But there's a question of where would Jimmy Butler go? Well, we finally have the
Nah, it was obvious, nigga.
answer to that as the
Either the Suns or the Warriors. That was a two team.
Warriors have just swung a blockbuster trade, but people are angry about this trade. They say that the Warriors gave up too much. So before we get to the
Hold on. Yeah, show Jimmy Butler got.
and turn on our
Fuck what you talking about. Show what Jimmy Butler got traded for.
They're running a Super Bowl. I've been averaging at minimum a pick for your money.
Nigga! Man, go to the shit, bruh.
Point, I'm convinced that anything can happen. Luka Doncic was moved because of with Luka Doncic.
We're talking about Jimmy Butler. We've already concluded and know what Luka Doncic went through and why he got traded. We already know. This video says Jimmy Butler was traded to the Golden State Warriors. Show Jimmy Butler.
Presumably the offseason. You guys remember, in the offseason, the Golden State Warriors were very aggressive when it came to improving their roster. Originally trying to agree to a sign-and trade for Paul George, but we all know that wouldn't end up working out because the Los Angeles Clippers prefer to just let Paul George walk for free as opposed to trading him to their rival Golden State Warriors, and then eventually trying to pivot into acquiring Lowry Markkanen. When that didn't work out, they decided to opt for their next plan, and it wasn't that bad of a plan. They agreed to a sign-and trade to send Klay Thompson field, and for the most Anthony Melton only played in 6 games this season. He looked solid in 11th place with a 500 record. Fortunately for them, it doesn't seem like there's going to be too much ground to make up to make it into the play-in. They need to act quickly and are desperately searching for a star. And it's really funny because you could tell that the Doncic trade definitely had an influence on them. And if you don't believe me, then just listen to what Shams had to say yesterday.
The Warriors are legitimately calling about every all-star player. Name the all-star player the Warriors have probably called on him. Paul George, they have called on him. They made calls on every star. And that, of course, includes players like LeBron, players like Kevin Durant, players like Jimmy Butler. They are making calls. They are dead set on trying to find another star player, superstar player with Stephen Curry. That is another subplot to this trade deadline as well.
So apparently one of the stars that they want
Giannis.
is Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is kind of funny when you consider the fact that the Bucks are currently 5th place in the Eastern Conference, and they could go as high as 4th place in the Eastern Conference. They have a slightly better record than the Golden State Warriors, but it's kind of crazy because despite them wanting some of these stars, some of these stars don't want to go to Golden State anymore. What was once thought of a destination to win yourself an easy championship is now seen as a situation that players want to avoid, most notably Jimmy Butler, who originally wanted to go to the Golden State Warriors, but according to Brian Windhorst, the Heat's Jimmy Butler has communicated to the Warriors that he's unwilling to sign an extension there, and therefore trade talks to send him to Golden State have ended for now, which is just crazy to me because the Golden State Warriors were always seen as a destination. But considering the fact that Jimmy Butler is going to be going into a new situation, wants an opportunity to compete for a championship, and wants to prove that he's worth a max contract extension.
Okay, this nigga is kind of sassy. Let me give it up.
I guess you can say it kind of makes sense, unless if Jimmy's really trying to force a trade to the Phoenix Suns, which is kind of surprising because even the Phoenix Suns situation seemed up in the air. So if you guys remember, the Suns' entire philosophy ever since the offseason all the way until now has been that they would be reluctant to move any of their big three. And it's kind of crazy because they have Bradley Beal coming off of the bench, allocating a significant amount of capital.
Trade that nigga for Jimmy, please.
No longer works. But now apparently, according to Jake Fisher, which is somebody I really trust,
is he an untouchable?
It's all about to change. The Suns are currently accepting trade calls for Kevin Durant per Jake Fisher. Now Kevin Durant has turned 36 years old. He's still having an incredible season, shooting 40% from three, 27 points per game with 6 rebounds and 4 assists per game. I mean, he still is one of the most dominant scorers in the NBA. And according to Jake Fisher, Durant's aware of this. Phoenix, entering Monday's business, continued to signal that it does not plan to move Durant before the deadline. But the Suns are believed to be listening at the very least
so
to
probably next year then.
Pitches for the 35-year-old scorer.
They're probably gonna let him finish out the season.
Meanwhile, is said to be aware of all of this. I mean, bro, if you're the Phoenix Suns, I mean, what are you fighting for at this point? It never made sense to me. I mean, you guys tried it last year. You guys ran it back this year. You guys got Tyus Jones, which is an upgrade at the point guard position. You've had 3 different head coaches during the Kevin Durant era, and you guys have never been able to make a dent in the playoffs. You got swept last year, for crying out loud. Now you're bringing Bradley Beal off of the bench. I mean, at least try to recoup some of your assets at this point. It doesn't have to be in 2025 or 2026, but in 2031, maybe 2030, at least get something for your 36-year-old scorer. And that's just what doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the West has never been this deep before, and I can't see the Suns defeating the top 4 teams in the Western Conference. I'm going to leave the Lakers out of it because obviously they're a bit of a wild card at this point. Now, the Golden State Warriors are very interested in trading for Kevin Durant, and they're so star crazy that
trading who? Drake, Draymond Green? Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
They even want LeBron James and Kevin Durant during this trade deadline, which would form one of the most interesting big threes I think I've ever seen since Scottie Pippen, Charles Barkley, and Hakeem Olajuwon teamed up in the late 90s. I like to call it the last dance big three, but honestly, I would rule out that theory almost immediately. LeBron James seems way too excited to play with Luka Doncic. He's not going to waive his no trade clause. He's even said that he's committed to the Lakers.
I keep saying that, bro. I keep saying that. LeBron want to finish his legacy with the Lakers, bro.
What's wrong with that?
And now that Luka's on the team, I mean, when LeBron James, when he asked about the Lakers making the Luka trade with an eye on the future, replied, "What's wrong with that? If I had, I would have waived I can't talk. I would have waived my no trade clause and got up out of here.
If I had concerns, I would have waived my no trade clause and got up out of here."
We can already forget about that. But there's no question about it that the Golden State Warriors have been desperate for a star over this past year. And it seems like they consistently swing and miss. And they're checking in on everybody, and it looks like their best chance at getting a star at this point is Kevin Durant. Imagine being Mike Dunleavy Jr. at this point. You swung for Paul George and you missed. You swung for Lauri Markkanen and you missed. You're checking in on LaMelo Ball and Zion Williamson just so you could see if the Hornets feel about LaMelo and if the Pelicans feel about Zion the same way the Mavericks felt.
I feel like they can get. I feel like they can possibly get LaMelo. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like they possibly could get LaMelo. And here's why. I'm not saying that LaMelo is not a player you can build a franchise around, but the Hornets might feel like he's not durable enough. He gets injured every year, ankle injury, every fucking year. Them ankles, they're not gonna want to deal with that for long. He is young though. And he is averaging 30 points a game. But with this Luka trade, anything could happen, bro. If this shit happens, bro, anything can fucking happen. They could trade LaMelo for somebody on the Warriors. I'm telling you, if the Luka trade happened, bro, any fucking thing could happen, bro. So, bro, I would not be surprised if the Hornets traded LaMelo. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
About Luka Doncic, which I don't think there's ever going to be another team in NBA history that's going to do the same thing the Mavericks just did. It still doesn't make sense to me, but hey, as a Laker fan, I'm not complaining about it. So at this point, your best opportunity is going to be Kevin Durant. Now, the Kevin Durant rumors have been insane over the past couple of days. Apparently, the Dallas Mavericks, fresh off of their Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis swap, wanted to pair Kevin Durant with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, which would have been likely if the Mavericks actually got their legitimate return for Luka Doncic. I mean, remember, they only got a 2029 first-round pick, Max Christie, and Anthony Davis. If you got the 8 first-round picks that you were entitled to, then yeah, you probably could have swung that. So you could automatically rule out Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving reuniting on the Dallas Mavericks, which brought us the next big rumor. Kevin Durant could potentially return to the Golden State Warriors. Now, this makes a lot of sense. Kevin Durant was ruled out of Wednesday's game due to an ankle injury. So whenever a player is ruled out due to an injury, it means that there's a good chance he might get traded soon. Now, the reason this makes sense is because the Phoenix Suns are unwilling to part with Devin Booker. They can't part with Bradley Beal because he said he's not waiving his no trade clause and he doesn't want to uproot his family in Phoenix, meaning that the only player that they could trade at this point would be Kevin Durant. This makes sense because there's only one more year left on his deal past this year, so you want to just get something in return for him, considering the fact that you haven't even come close to contention. Jimmy Butler, in the meantime, is obsessed with getting to the Phoenix Suns, and in order for a trade to work out, it would probably have to be a multi-team trade. We would find out later on that a Kevin Durant trade to Golden State and Jimmy Butler ending up in Phoenix is in play and is gaining momentum. This is because trading Kevin Durant seems to be the only way for Phoenix to acquire Jimmy Butler before Thursday's deadline. Why would the Suns want Butler if they no longer have Durant on the roster? No one asks by this.
Yeah, at that point, it's just worthless.
That question. But rumbles persist that a scenario that transports Butler from South Beach to the desert with Durant moving back to the Bay Area is indeed in play. This might not be the most exciting trade if you're a Phoenix Suns fan. I mean, the only reason you could be excited about this trade is because you know Jimmy Butler will sign an extension with the Suns, whereas Kevin Durant is a huge question mark. And Sam Amick would confirm all this trade chatter in a video.
The Warriors thing is very real. Admittedly, I'm a West Coaster like you guys, so we're kind of getting rolling right now to figure out where the intel is at today. There were moments last night where I thought, this was actually going to happen, which is wild to say.
There were actually moments that I thought this was going to be happening. As a matter of fact, Brian Windhorst even confirmed that a framework of a deal is being discussed.
Oh, that for weeks now, Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns have been trying to acquire.
Well, the deadline is almost over in a few hours, so we might hear a KD trade tonight, my nigga.
Butler. We know the only way to do that is with the Bradley Beal trade. We know that Bradley Beal has a no trade clause. Trust me when I tell you.
It is at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern today, February 6th. So in a few hours, we might hear a KD trade at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not gonna lie. We might hear a Jimmy Butler trade at 3 o'clock in the morning. That shit might happen. Cause, let me see. It says the Miami Heat are finalizing a deal to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick. Wow.
They have tried every nook and cranny of this league, trying to figure out a way to trade Bradley Beal to a place he would accept and that would deliver them the kind of pieces that they would need to then go acquire Jimmy Butler. With no way to necessarily acquire Butler and put him with Durant, they have now had to realize that they may have to put Durant on the trade block, and they have. And they have talked to several teams about that. One of the teams that they have talked about is indeed the Golden State Warriors, because with all the pieces and parts and getting everybody to agree to that is very difficult, much less the concept of Kevin Durant going back and playing with Steph Curry.
But there's one colossal problem. You see, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green aren't the best of friends. Kevin Durant doesn't want to play with Draymond Green anymore, saying that reports suggest that Kevin Durant has serious reservations about a potential return to the Warriors if he were to be traded there, per the Steinline. His final season as a Warrior in 2018 and 19 was of course marked by a devastating Achilles injury, as well as a growing belief that he wanted a dramatic change of scenery, which he found in Brooklyn, and no longer wanted to play alongside Draymond Green. Now, it's kind of funny because at the same time that this report came out, you heard that the Golden State Warriors have discussed trading Draymond Green per Sam Amick. It's 100% been discussed internally. Could you just imagine if the Warriors retained Kevin Durant over Draymond Green and the way the Warriors would have looked like at this point if they were able to achieve that? I mean, Klay Thompson would probably still be a Golden State Warrior. Jordan Poole would still be a Warrior. You have Jonathan Kuminga in Draymond Green's position, and the Warriors would have had the pick to select Jonathan Kuminga anyway. So that pick would have made way more sense. But here's the thing, Kevin Durant's reservations were very significant because Ryan Windhorst would reverse course. And this is where it gets tragic for Golden State Warriors fans, because what Sean reverse course. Where it gets tragic for Golden State Warriors fans, because what Shams Charania said in regards to Kevin Durant just tells you all you need to know about the state of the Warriors. Kevin Durant doesn't want to play for the Golden State Warriors. You might be wondering why. Well, there's not much for him to gain. Originally, the reason why he left the Golden State Warriors was because he wanted to carve out his own legacy on a
and he felt like the Warriors didn't need him.
Different team. He went to the Brooklyn Nets to form a dynamic duo with Kyrie Irving before they formed another big three in Brooklyn, which didn't really help Kevin Durant's legacy, even if it was successful in my opinion. When that didn't work out, he forced a trade to the Phoenix Suns, and what's ironic about these teams is I believe from the very beginning they're built to compete with KD, and then they come out and they do something terrible to ruin their teams and they're no longer competitive. In the case of the Brooklyn Nets, I didn't think the James Harden trade was ever that necessary. In the case of the Phoenix Suns, I didn't think the Bradley Beal trade was necessary. It's actually screwing them over right now. If you take a look at the standings currently, Phoenix Suns have the exact same record as the Golden State Warriors, so why would he want to go to the Warriors? Which means that there's only one team that really makes sense for Kevin Durant at this point, and I'm not necessarily sure if I have faith in Miami being able to pull this off. Apparently, the Miami Heat are legitimately interested in Kevin Durant. Now, if you remember, Kevin Durant was originally interested in playing for the Miami Heat when he quietly requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets a few years ago, but I'm not so confident that this is going to happen. Miami Heat have had about a month to make a trade involving Jimmy Butler happen, and according to the Steinline, there's a possibility that Jimmy Butler will even remain with the Miami Heat after the trade deadline. With time running out on trade season and Butler still on the Heat's roster after they tried for a month to make a trade happen, perhaps we have to start seriously considering the possibility that Butler remains with the Heat past the trade deadline. All in all, this is so tragic for Golden State Warriors fans. I mean, from Paul George to Lauri Markkanen to pursuing Jimmy Butler, and then Jimmy Butler telling you that he's not going to sign a contract extension with you, to Kevin Durant saying he doesn't want to play for you anymore. Klay Thompson leaves in the offseason. I mean, what is going on behind the scenes of the Golden State Warriors? They used to be a destination. So at this point, you have an idea of how crazy it was for the Golden State Warriors over the past couple of days. But then something
it's Draymond Green, bro.
Happened. Jimmy Butler actually caved. Now, it's
nobody wants to play with fucking Draymond Green.
There was no pathway for Jimmy Butler to get to the Phoenix Suns. And honestly, I don't think going to the Phoenix Suns in return for Kevin Durant would be great. I mean, originally when we brought up this rumor about a month ago, the point was Jimmy Butler was supposed to get traded for Bradley Beal. When Bradley Beal said he's not going to waive his no trade clause, then his next best option to get to a team where he could play with a Hall of Famer, where he could potentially contend, would be the Golden State Warriors, and it seems like he finally decided to cave. As according to Shams Charania, breaking, the Miami Heat are finalizing a deal to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick. Now, this is absolute insanity, and originally fans were wondering whether or not this is even a good trade to begin with. Now, before we break this down, let's finish the trade.
And he just posted a song saying "Welcome to the Wild Wild West" on his caption. Yeah, he is going to the Warriors.
Still, Warriors Lindy Waters III and the Heat's Josh Richardson are
he's
headed
gone.
to the Detroit Pistons.
He's in the Warriors.
And probably the most significant part about this is Jimmy Butler has already agreed to a new 2-year, $121 million contract extension with the franchise through 2026 to 2027. Butler's declining his player option for this year for this new $121 million deal. Now, so far, I see that there are two camps here. One being that the Golden State Warriors didn't give up much at all to get Jimmy Butler. And to be honest, that's 100% true. But when you consider the fact that the Miami Heat were in a situation where they really didn't have much of a choice. Their backs were against the wall. Jimmy Butler was going to leave them in free agency anyway. They just wanted to be done with this saga. There wasn't really any...
They wanted to get the game from me. I get it.
And I'm not necessarily saying this is a great return on their investment, but I really have a lot of faith in Andrew Wiggins in this brand new Miami Heat culture. I mean, we saw what Pat Riley was able to do to Dion Waiters a few years ago, and Andrew Wiggins isn't having that bad of a season, shooting 38% from three, averaging 18 points per game. He's one of the better two-way forwards in the NBA. He definitely fits Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero's timeline way better than Jimmy Butler did. But I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew Wiggins plays his best basketball of his career with the Miami Heat. It's not an incredible return, but at least it's something. For the Golden State Warriors, there's a huge question of whether or not this was the right decision for them. On one hand, they don't really lose much by giving up Andrew Wiggins because Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins pretty much did the same thing. They can now run lineups with Jonathan Kuminga at the 4, Jimmy Butler at the 3. Wiggins and Kuminga just did not work together in the same lineup, so this potentially changes things for the Golden State Warriors. But there's no question about it, this is a last dance type of move. They're going all in and banking on Jimmy Butler being able to extend his prime. Remember, Jimmy Butler is 35 years old and he agreed to a 2-year extension with the Warriors. That contract extension is hideous. The man is now getting paid $60 million a year to play for the Golden State Warriors. This means Jimmy Butler is the new highest paid player in the NBA ahead of his current teammate Steph Curry, although Steph Curry's contract is significantly longer than Jimmy Butler's. Pretty much, Jimmy Butler is attached to Steph Curry by the hip for the remainder of Steph Curry's career. So why would the Golden State Warriors make this trade? Well, it's obvious. They're desperate. They're currently 10th in the Western Conference standings. As you saw from the introductory part of this video, they called all around the league to try to find a star just to slightly boost their chances, to make them go from a fringe play-in team to a team that could have more success in the Western Conference. If Jimmy Butler can stay healthy, he is a difference maker in late game situations and in the playoffs, but that's a huge if. At the end of the day, it's not the greatest trade in the world for both teams, but both teams have a very legitimate reason for
I feel like it's better. It's good for that was good for the Warriors. I feel like the Warriors were not gonna win any more championships with Andrew Wiggins and Kyle Anderson, which I don't know why the fuck the Warriors picked that bitch ass nigga up. I'm glad that nigga's gone from the Warriors. I understand with him saying that because Jimmy Butler is getting old. He's 35, but he still can play right now. So he's still got a couple years on him playing at his, you know what I'm saying, at his best, or playing at a good ability enough to be good for the Warriors. And he could. I feel like he'll fit pretty good in the Warriors lineup for right now.
In this trade, this could be the trade that pushes the Warriors to a 5 or a 6 seed, or this could be the trade that destroys the end of Steph Curry's career. Let me know what you guys think about this trade in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool. Everybody hate him because they feel like he's sassy and he doesn't want to. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. People just I don't know. I fuck with Jimmy Butler though. He's cool.